Dream of the Red Chamber, Chapter 53.
We're kind of ignoring the romance for a moment to look at the machinery.
The machinery, I love that. We're going to look at the fascinating and honestly kind of terrifying contrast between the tender, intimate moments inside the garden and the massive, bureaucratic, economic reality that's required to keep this whole feudal aristocratic family running.
It's all about scale. You have the micro, the medicine, the sickbed, the personal care,
Right.
and then the macro, the rent collection, the tenant farmers, and just the sheer financial cost of maintaining face.
We have so much to get through. I mean, we've got a maid recovering from illness using this very specific and frankly surprising starvation technique. A bag of gold that's more about honor than, purchasing power. And a tenant farmer bringing in a delivery list that sounds like a frantic grocery run for a medieval army.
It really does. And I think by the end of this, you'll see that these aren't separate stories. The illness in the bedroom and the deficit in the counting house are, well, they're telling the same story.
Which
A
is?
story about depletion.
Okay, so let's start with that micro. Let's go inside the garden. We pick up with the main protagonist, Bao Yu, and his head maid, Qingwen.
And the context here is vital, because this isn't just a random sick day. Qingwen has just performed a heroic feat. She was already sick with a bad cold, but she pushed herself to mend a peacock fur cloak-a-KQ.
And this wasn't just any cloak, was it? This was made of, peacock feather yarn from Russia.
Yeah.
It was burnt, and no tailor in the entire capital would touch it.
Exactly. It was priceless. So Qingwen, out of loyalty to Bao Yu, stays up all night stitching this thing, thread by thread.
So she's basically worked herself to exhaustion.
Completely. And now the adrenaline is worn off. It's the morning after, and she is in really bad shape.
Her energy is just gone.
Totally spent. Bao Yu is frantic. He calls in Dr. Wang, and this is where we get a really interesting look at traditional Chinese medicine as it was practiced in these elite households.
It's not just magic potions, right? There's a real logic to it.
A real logic that tells us a lot about how they viewed the body.
So what's the diagnosis?
Well, Dr. Wang takes her pulse. He notes that yesterday she was a bit better, but today her pulse is floating and weak, or Zuwei-fu.
Floating and weak. Okay, for those of us who aren't TCM practitioners, what does that actually mean?
Well, think of a floating pulse like a log on water. You feel it right at the surface, but it has no root. It usually means an external pathogen is fighting right at the surface.
Like a cold or flu.
Exactly. But the weak part is the kicker. That suggests a depletion of the body's fundamental energy. It's qi.
So she's fighting a battle on the surface, but she has absolutely no reserves left in the tank.
Precisely. The doctor suspects she either overate, which would tax her digestion, or she overexerted herself mentally.
Which she definitely did with the cloak. That was hours of intense focus.
Right. So look at how the prescription changes. This is the key. Before, she was taking medicine to clear or disperse the cold. That's offense, attacking the pathogen.
Okay.
But now, the doctor removes those aggressive herbs. He pivots to defense.
He starts prescribing tonics.
Exactly. He adds Aurea or Fulling, Romania or De Huang, and Angelica Dengui.
Can you break this down for us? I feel like I see those names in health food stores now, but what did they mean to them?
Sure. So Fulling helps with digestion and fluid metabolism. De Huang and Dengui are classic blood tonics. They nourish the blood and fluids.
So he's basically saying...
You saying we can't fight the virus anymore because the soldier's too tired. We have to feed the soldier first.
And Bao Yu, being Bao Yu, immediately blames himself. He's like, this is all my sin. He's incredibly attentive. But then we get this detail about the Jia household's family secret to health that I found absolutely fascinating.
Oh, the net hunger method.
Yes. You have this incredibly wealthy family living in total luxury, but their go-to cure for a cold is starvation. It seems so counterintuitive.
It does to us, but it was a very specific cultural practice. The text calls it Jingyi net hunger, or pure starvation.
What's the philosophy there?
The idea is that when your body is fighting a pathogen, digestion takes up a huge amount of energy.
So if you eat a big meal, you're diverting energy away from your immune system.
Precisely. In their view, food can actually feed the illness. So the rule in the Jia household is rigid. Master or servant, if you have a cold, you fast for 2 or 3 days.
Keep the diet light, let the stomach empty out, and then take the medicine.
Right. The text is explicit about this. Starvation is the main cure. The medicine is just the supplement.
It's just such a stark contrast. All the banquets and excess, but when they get sick, they go into this austere monk-like mode.
And it seems to work for them. The text says because Qingwen followed this, she didn't get significantly worse despite the exertion.
So sometimes the best thing you can do is just get out of the body's way.
That's the takeaway.
Meanwhile, the rest of the garden is kind of in a lull, isn't it?
It really is. It's almost like the garden is holding its breath. Shirin, the other head maid, she's just back from her mother's funeral, so there's a somber tone there.
And the poetry club, which is usually the center of their whole social life, is on pause.
Pause, because everyone is either sick or busy. Lion has a cold. Xingfran has eye trouble.
So it creates this sense of quiet.
It does. The playful, artistic life of the garden is suspended, which is a perfect narrative device because it forces the camera to pan out. We leave the sickbed
And move to the main hall of the Ningguo house.
to the adult world, the world of management.
And the world of the ritual.
Exactly.
So we move from medicine to money, specifically gold. We see Yushi, Jiazen's wife, managing the New Year prep, and she is processing a huge amount of gold.
A huge amount. She's melting down broken gold pieces to create Yasui Keizi, these fancy gold charms for New Year's press money.
The visual detail here is amazing. They take 153 taels of gold, which is a lot, and turn them into 220 little items. And they aren't just lumps of gold.
No, they're shaped like plum blossoms, begonias.
And the puns, you have to talk about the puns. One shape is described as brush ingot rui.
Yes, okay, so you have to unpack that.
Please do.
It's a tiny charm shaped like a writing brush,
Bibe.
a silver ingot, ding, and a rui scepter, rui. In Chinese, when you say those three things together, biting rui, it sounds exactly like the phrase, may your wishes certainly come true.
That is fantastic. It's like branding. They are literally minting their own good luck charms.
And there's another one, the 8 treasures connected to spring. These are intricate custom items meant for the younger generation and the servants. It just shows the level of detail.
They aren't just handing out cash, they're handing out art.
Right. But then the real money arrives, or well, the real status arrives. Jia Rong comes in carrying this small yellow cloth bag.
And this is a huge moment for understanding their mindset, isn't it?
A pivotal moment. That bag contains the silver reward for the spring sacrifice. It's money straight from the emperor.
But here's the thing. Ji Zhen, the head of the house, he makes a big point of saying they don't need the money.
He does. He says, and this is a quote, even if we use 10,000 taels of our own silver, it wouldn't be as prestigious as this.
That's the key right there. The value isn't the currency, it's the imperial grace, Tian'en.
It's purely symbolic capital. I mean, think about what they do with the bag. They don't just throw it away. The bag itself has imperial grace forever bestowed printed on it.
So what do they do with it?
Jia Zhen tells them to burn the bag in the ancestral furnace as an offering.
Wait, hold on. They burn the bag.
They take the silver out first, obviously. But yes, they offer the wrapper to the ancestors.
It's a message to the dead.
Exactly. It's a message saying, look, we still have the emperor's favor. In their society, that favor is the ultimate currency. It's proof of their legitimacy.
It really highlights how precarious their whole position is. They're obsessed with maintaining this connection to the throne.
It's performative gratitude. And performative is the right word. Because as we're about to see, while they have plenty of imperial grace, they are running a little low on actual cash.
Let's talk about where their actual money comes from. Not from the emperor, but from the dirt.
Yes. The arrival of Wu Jingxia.
This is my favorite part of the chapter because it feels so grounded. We're in the main hall, they're cleaning, and in walks this character, Wu Jingxiao. He's the head of the Black Mountain Village estate.
And listen to how Jia Zhen greets him. He calls him an old head chopper.
Old head chopper. It sounds so aggressive. Is he threatening him?
No, surprisingly. It's actually a rough, affectionate, sort of condescending joke. It perfectly captures their dynamic.
The urban aristocrat and the rural labor manager.
Exactly. Wu Jingxiao is there to deliver the annual rent in kind, the tribute that keeps the family fed.
And when we say fed, we are not talking about a few bags of rice. The shopping list, or the tribute list, is staggering. I have to read some of this out. The scale is just absurd.
Go for it. It's a window into their consumption.
Okay, deep breath. He brings 30 big deer, 50 roe deer, 20 pairs of bear paws.
And bear paws were a huge delicacy. I mean, extremely expensive. You can't just go to the market and buy bear paws.
No. 50 caddies of sea cucumber, 1,000 caddies of top-quality charcoal, 30,000 caddies of regular charcoal.
Just for heating. Think about the carbon footprint of keeping the Jia household warm for one winter. 30,000 caddies is, what, about 18 tons of charcoal?
It's incredible. Then we have all the specialized rice. And then the toys for the kids.
Live animals.
Yes. Live deer, rabbits, pheasants, and Western ducks.
It's an abundance that feels almost mythological. I mean, imagine hauling live deer hundreds of miles in the middle of winter.
It's all designed to project this image of unlimited resources, or so it seems. But here is the record scratch.
Here's where the reality check hits.
Wu Jingxiao hands over this mountain of goods, and then he hands over the cash from selling the rest. And the total is
2,500 taels.
And Jia Zhen is not happy.
Not at all. He frowns. He was expecting at least 5,000. He basically says, this isn't enough to do anything with.
This is the crack in the facade, right? They have bear paws piling up in the yard. They are asset-rich. But the cold, hard cash, the liquidity is missing. They're down 50%.
And Wu Jingxiao has a valid excuse. The weather. This is the reality of being a landowner. It rained nonstop from March to August, and then in September, a massive hailstorm.
He says the hail was the size of bowls, that it destroyed houses and livestock over an area of 1,300 lives.
This is the macro lesson. The Jia family's wealth is tied to agriculture. It's volatile. It's weather-dependent. But their spending.
Their spending is fixed. Or, no, it's constantly increasing.
Right. And that brings us to the conversation between Jia Zhen and Wu. Because Wu makes a mistake. He assumes, well, at least you guys are okay. The Wrong House Bayou side, they must be loaded. They have more land.
And Jia Zhen just laughs at him.
A bitter laugh. He corrects him immediately. He says the Wrong House is actually in worse shape.
Which is confusing. How can the bigger house with more land be poorer?
Because of the imperial visitation. Remember when the imperial concubine Bayou's sister came home?
Right, and they built the entire Grandview Garden for her, for one night.
That construction costs a fortune. Jia Zhen explains that they have added affairs, but they haven't added land or added money. They're running a structural deficit every single year.
They spent a massive amount of capital on a one-time event to gain face, and now they are bleeding out financially. It's like hosting the Olympics.
That is a perfect analogy. You build the stadium, have a great party, and then you're left with a debt for 30 years.
Wow.
And then Jia Rong, the son, chimes in with some gossip that really drives this home. He says he heard the manager of the Wrong House talking about pawning old lady Jia's things.
Pawning the grandmother stuff. Okay,
Yeah.
that's desperate. That's a new level of desperate.
It is. Now, Jia Zhen kind of dismisses it. He thinks Xifeng is just being manipulative, crying poverty so she can cut expenses. He says it hasn't reached that level yet.
But, as you pointed out in the notes, whether it's a trick or it's true, the fact that the word pawn is even being whispered in the halls of the Jia family.
It's a massive red flag. In a house of this stature, you do not talk about pawning things. The fact that it's a plausible rumor means the rot has set in. The cash flow problem is becoming an open secret.
Jia Zhen uses a metaphor for it. He says they are like a yellow philodendron wooden mallet.
Yes. Respectable and impressive on the outside, but bitter on the inside. Philodendron wood is used for medicine, but it is incredibly bitter to the taste.
That is such a haunting image. You look at them from the outside, they're burning imperial grace bags, eating bear paws, wearing peacock fur. But inside, bitterness and deficit.
And denial. Don't forget the denial. Jia Zhen sees the numbers. He knows the rent is half of what it should be. But does he say, okay, let's cancel the New Year's party?
No. He says, I'll just have to be a little thick-skinned about the gifts I give. He doesn't stop the machine.
He can't. The machine is what keeps them noble. If they stop spending, they admit they're declining. And in their world, admitting decline is worse than going broke.
They're trapped.
In a cycle of prestige consumption. The scene shifts. I want you to imagine, just for a second, the most stressful family holiday gathering you've ever had.
Yeah, that's not too hard.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's the pressure of cooking a turkey for 20 people, or that one uncle who always asks why you haven't been promoted yet, or just the sheer logistical nightmare of getting everyone in the same room. You got that image in your head.
I think everyone has a version of that scar tissue, yeah. The holidays are supposed to be relaxing, but they usually end up being a project management crisis.
Okay, now multiply that stress by 1,000, literally.
Yeah.
The guest list isn't 20 people, it's hundreds. And if you mess up the seating chart, you're not just annoying Aunt Linda, you're insulting the ancestors, the lineage, and maybe even the emperor himself.
That is the scale we are dealing with today, high-stakes holiday planning.
We're zooming in on the Ningguo mansion.
It's so dense, it's full of lists, rituals, descriptions of clothes.
Yeah, it looks like just a bunch of details.
It does, but if you stop and really look, this chapter is actually the structural engineering of the whole novel. It tells you exactly how this society works.
because on the surface, this chapter is just dazzling. It's all golden dragons of lantern light, incense, furs, and gold.
Right.
But you've pulled out some details from the source material that suggest there is a very different, much darker story happening underneath all that.
That's right. We're going to look at two specific scenes today to prove that. One is the distribution of goods, which is basically, the family business on the ground.
Okay.
And the other is the ancestral sacrifice, which is this perfect, solemn, almost high church ritual.
Let's start with the business side of things. The text opens with a scene that feels less like a holiday party and more like, I don't know, a corporate audit.
Or maybe a scene from a gangster movie.
Yes. We meet Jia Zhen. He's the head of the Ningguo branch, the guy in charge. Paint the picture for us, because the visual is just wild.
So it's late winter, it's freezing cold, and Jia Zhen is overseeing the distribution of New Year's supplies to the extended clan. But he's not sitting at a desk inside.
No warm office for him.
No, he's outside, on a stone step.
Why outside? Is he just trying to prove how tough he is?
It's a display of vitality, absolutely. But, look at what he's sitting on. The text specifies he has a large wolfskin rug.
A wolfskin rug.
Spread out on the stone step. And he's wearing a lynx fur coat.
Wolfskin and lynx fur. That is aggressive luxury.
It's extremely aggressive. It screams power. He is the alpha predator here, basking in the sun, watching the lesser relatives come and go. It's a very primal image for such a supposed refined family.
He's comfortable on the skins of predators while everyone else is shivering. It gives off a very specific energy. Honestly, it feels less like a benevolent grandfather.
And more like a mob boss holding court.
That's it. The mob boss comparison is actually really apt, because what he's doing is managing the family welfare system.
Right. The Jia clan is enormous. You have the rich core family, the ones we usually follow, but then you have all these distant, poor relatives. And the New Year's goods are basically charity.
Just to keep them fed and respectable.
So they don't embarrass the clan. It's a handout.
So it's hush money.
It is, in a way. Keep the poor relations fed so they don't cause trouble. But it comes with strings. And we see those strings snap when a younger relative, Jia Qin, walks up.
Jia Qin. Okay, so he comes up to get his share. What goes wrong?
Well, usually you just take your package, you bow, and you leave. But Jia Zhen stops everything. He looks at Jia Qin and says, "Who asked you to come here?"
Oof. In front of everyone. That's humiliating.
In front of the whole clan. The music just stops. Jia Qin tries to play it off. He says, "I heard you were handing out things, so I didn't wait to be called. I just came."
Which seems
Like,
enterprising.
Where?
Or at least honest.
You'd think. But Jia Zhen explodes. Because Jia Zhen isn't supposed to be idle. This is the key insight into the family's corruption.
What do you mean?
Jia Qin actually has a job. He was given a post managing the family temple specifically, handling the young monks and Taoist priests.
So he's on the payroll, he's employed.
He's managing a significant cash flow. He handles their monthly silver allowances. And Jia Zhen just calls him out on this ruthlessly. He says, essentially, I gave you charity when you were unemployed, but now you're handling the monks' money. You have an allowance.
For you to come here and try to grab the poor relative's share?
It's just greed. It's double dipping.
Right.
But he doesn't just attack his greed. He attacks his appearance. He looks him up and down and basically says, you don't look like a guy who's been working hard.
That's that mob boss eye for detail again. Nothing gets past him.
Nothing. He says, look at you. You don't look like someone who is saving money. And then he drops the hammer. He accuses him of gathering bandits to gamble and keeping women and boys.
Whoa, keeping women and boys in the temple.
The text is very explicit. He accuses Jia Qin of acting like a petty tyrant. Because the temple is far away from the main mansion, Jia Qin thinks no one's watching.
I think he's turned a religious post into his own personal playground.
A gambling den and a brothel, yeah. It represents the moral decay of the younger generation. They see family resources not as a duty, but as like a piggy bank to smash open for fun.
And Jia Zhen's reaction. He doesn't just threaten to fire him. He gets physical.
Whoa, it's brutal. He threatens him with the water-carrying stick.
Which I assume isn't just for carrying water.
No, it's a heavy wooden pole. It's a threat of a severe beating. He says, if you don't get out of here, I'll have you beaten. And then he adds the professional threat. After the new year, I'll talk to your uncle Jia Lian and have you replaced.
So we have this incredible scene of rot. The younger generation is corrupt, stealing from religious funds, and the older generation rules through fear and violence.
It's a system held together by threats, and yet, mere moments later, we see just how high the family still sits in society.
Right after this, a gift arrives.
From the Prince of Beijing,
This is royalty.
the absolute top tier.
And just so we're clear for the listener, this is a huge deal, right?
Huge. This is like getting a personal gift from a duke. For most families, this would be the highlight of the decade. They'd frame the packaging,
They build a shrine to it.
and Jia Zhen barely reacts. This is the detail that blows my mind. He doesn't even get up from his wolfskin. He just tells his son, Jia Rong, to handle it. And he says, just say I'm not home.
Wait. He tells his son to lie to a prince? Tell him I'm not home.
Yeah. It's either casual arrogance or maybe just sheer exhaustion with the social game, but it signals that the Ningbo house is so powerful they don't need to scramble for royal favor anymore,
They can afford to be rude to royalty.
which is a dangerous level of confidence.
It is. It's the kind of confidence you have right before a fall.
Exactly. You feel untouchable.
So we've established the business side. Corruption, wolfskins, beatings, and, blowing off royalty. Now, the text pivots. We move to the 29th day of the 12th month. The distribution is over.
And it's time for the ancestral sacrifice.
The spiritual core of the chapter.
And the author, Cao Shuiqian, does something very clever here. He knows we've gotten kind of numb to the family's wealth, so he brings in a fresh pair of eyes.
Bokin.
Right. She's a visitor, a guest. She has never been inside the ancestral hall before, so the narrative shifts to her perspective. And through her, we get this incredible tour.
That sounds intimidating.
It's designed to be. A separate courtyard, black oil fence, a massive 5-room gate. You walk down this white stone path lined with green pines and cypresses.
It feels very cold and permanent.
Green and white. Silence. It's a total sensory shift. This is the zone of the dead. It's meant to make you feel small.
And the walls are covered in writing, plaques, and couplets. Now, I know these are usually just flowery poetry, but you highlighted these because they tell a darker story.
They do. These are not live, laugh, love signs. They are the family's contract with the state. They explain exactly why this family is so rich.
Okay, let's look at the first one. The outer couplet says, liver and brains smeared on the ground.
Brutal, right?
It's incredibly violent. Why is that in a temple?
It refers to the ancestors. It's a metaphor and a really graphic one for dying in battle. It means total sacrifice. The ancestors didn't just work hard, they destroyed their bodies for the emperor.
They died violent deaths.
And the second part of the couplet.
Merit piercing the sky.
So because we smeared our brains on the ground for you, our merit reaches heaven.
And because of that sacrifice, they get the other plaques.
Right. There's one written by the emperor himself, Star Glorious Support. It is a transaction. This hall is basically a receipt for blood. The family gave their lives, and in exchange, the emperor gave them this status, this gold.
That puts the wolf skin rug in a different light.
Yeah.
They bought that luxury with violence.
Yes. But here is the tension, and this is why we started with Jiakin. The ancestors bought this status with liver and brains, but the current generation, Jiakin is piercing the sky with gambling debts.
The contrast between the words on the wall and the reality of the people in the room is enormous.
It is.
So let's talk about the people in the room, the ritual itself. I've read about religious ceremonies, but this is something else. The text describes the atmosphere as crow and magpie silent.
Absolute silence. No whispering, no coughing. The only sounds are the clanking of gold bells and jade pendants and the rustling of boots.
That sound design is incredible. You can literally hear the money moving.
And the positioning is rigid. It's called the Zhao and Mu order, this generational ordering. Jia Jing, the oldest, is the main celebrant. Then Jia Shi, Jia Zhen, and so on. Everyone stands exactly where their generation dictates.
It's a living flowchart of the family tree.
It is.
But the part that really confused me, and I need you to walk me through this because it seems so inefficient, is the way they handle the offerings.
Yeah.
I called it the bucket brigade in my notes.
That's a great name for it. It's a human conveyor belt.
But why? Why not just have a servant carry the dish to the table?
Because the ritual isn't just about feeding the ancestors, it's about linking the living family together. No single person is allowed to do it all.
Okay, so break it down for me.
Imagine a dish comes from the kitchen. Step 1. Servants bring it to the gate. They stop. They can't go further.
Right, they're not blood relatives, so
Yeah.
they stop.
Really. Step 2. The men of the family take it. They pass it up the steps to the head male, Jia Jing.
So the patriarch has it. He's the top guy.
But he doesn't put it on the altar. He turns and passes it to Jia Rong.
And this is where I got stuck. Jia Rong is young. He's the son of the mob boss, Jia Zhen. Why is he the pivot point?
Because he is the eldest grandson of the eldest branch. He represents the future lineage. But more importantly, he is the only male allowed to cross the threshold into the inner sanctuary.
So there's a physical line the other men can't cross.
Yes. The men are outside, the women are inside. Jia Rong is the bridge. He takes the dish from the men, crosses the threshold, and passes it to his wife.
Oh, then.
She passes it to the other women, Feng Ji. They pass it up the line to Madame Wang, who finally passes it to Grandmother Jia, the matriarch.
And she is the one who puts it on the table.
That's
That's dizzying. One dish touches 10 pairs of hands before it even hits the altar.
But think about what that demonstrates. It maps out the gender segregation, men outside, women inside. It maps out the hierarchy. But it also shows the family is a single organism.
If one person steps out of line or drops the dish,
The connection is broken.
it sounds beautiful, but also incredibly high pressure. Like, if you're the guy who drops the dumpling, you're ruining the dynasty.
The pressure is immense, and that's why the silence is so heavy. They are performing their unity. They are trying to prove to the ancestors and to themselves that the system still works.
That everyone knows their place.
Right.
So the ritual ends. The liver and brains have been honored. The text then takes us to the aftermath, and we move from that cold stone temple to Yushi's main room.
And the vibe changes completely, immediately. We go from cold stone to red felt floors, gold cloisonné braziers shaped like elephant trunks.
Elephant trunks.
Yes, puffing out smoke and warmth. And rugs made of wolf skin and white fox fur.
Wow, so it's incredibly cozy.
It is opulent comfort. It's the reward for the performance.
But even here, they're still on ceremony, right? I noticed Grandmother Jia sits on the main couch, but everyone else is still arranged by rank.
They never truly clock out. Even when they're relaxing, they are performing the hierarchy. The young ones stand, the older ones sit. It never stops.
But we do get a very human moment here with Grandmother Jia. She's the supreme authority, but she does something interesting when Yushi offers her dinner.
She declines, and this is a masterclass in leadership.
How so? Because usually, declining a host's food is kind of rude.
In this context, it's mercy. Yushi wants to honor her by serving her. But Grandmother Jia looks around. She sees the exhaustion. She knows these women have been standing in the cold, organizing hundreds of dishes. And she says, essentially, look, you guys are busy as anything. You have the sacrifices, the guests, the chaos. I'm not going to add to it.
She says, send the food to my house. I'll eat it later.
It seems like a small thing. But by leaving, she is giving them permission to breathe. She knows that as long as she is in the room, no one can sit, no one can rest.
That's really high emotional intelligence, knowing when your presence is a burden.
Exactly. It shows why she's the true head of the family. Jia Zhen leads with a wolfskin rug and threats. Grandmother Jia leads by understanding the human cost of the ritual.
She knows when to leave the room. Okay, let's shift scenes. We are crashing the Lantern Festival, or Yuanxiao, at the Ning and Rong mansions.
And this isn't just a casual peek at a holiday dinner. We're zooming in on a really specific part of Chapter 53. On the surface, it just looks like a list of rich people stuff. Gold, jade, opera.
We want to sort of audit the room.
Because if you really pay attention, this party is a masterclass in social engineering. It tells you exactly who has the power, how that power is staged, and maybe most importantly,
Who's missing?
who is conspicuously missing from the table.
Yeah, that's the key. In a novel as dense as this one, the empty chairs. They often speak way louder than the people sitting in them.
So let's get our bearings. It's the 15th day of the first lunar month. The text puts us right on the street that separates the two great houses, the Ning and the Rong.
And the first thing that hits you is the sheer control they have over the environment.
Total control.
A city street back then would have been, chaotic. Vendors, animals, all sorts of noise. But here, the public has been totally cleared out.
It's silent.
Silent. On the east side, you've got the Ning Mansion's ceremonial flags and instruments all lined up. On the west, the Rong Mansion does the exact same thing.
It creates this visual tunnel you have to walk through. It feels like you're leaving the real world behind.
That is exactly the point.
Yeah.
You pass through these great halls, going deeper and deeper into the compound until you finally get to the inner sanctum.
Which is the main room of the Lady Dowager Jiamu.
And as soon as you cross that threshold, the vibe it shifts. It goes from that military precision outside to this almost suffocating luxury inside.
The text lists all these incredible details: embroidered screens, special floor mats, But what really got me was the smell.
Ah, yes.
The source mentions they're burning a very specific blend of incense.
And it's not just some generic nice smell. They're burning a mix of pine, cypress, and lily herbs in these huge fire basins. Now, that choice it's incredibly deliberate.
Pine and cypress, those are evergreens. They stay green through the winter.
Exactly. In Chinese culture, they symbolize longevity, endurance, unshakable dignity.
Yeah.
So by pumping this scent into the room, they're basically sending a message to every single guest.
This family is like the pine, we will last forever.
Which, of course, for anyone who knows how this book ends,
Is deeply ironic.
unbelievably ironic. It's a sensory lie. And they double down on it visually, too. You see these floral arrangements everywhere, thinking around the three friends of winter.
I saw that in the notes. For anyone who might not be an art historian, can we break that down? What are the three friends?
Of course. It's a classic motif in East Asian art. You have pine, bamboo, and plum blossoms. The pine and bamboo stay green in the cold, and the plum tree, it blossoms while there's still snow on the ground.
So they represent resilience.
Resilience, integrity, moral purity in really tough times.
So they're surrounding themselves with all these symbols of moral purity while throwing one of the most ridiculously expensive parties you can imagine.
Exactly. It almost feels like they're overcompensating. They're wrapping themselves in the aesthetics of integrity while indulging in, well, extreme opulence.
Speaking of opulence, let's talk about how the guests arrive. This is not a casual, hey, Grandma, happy holidays.
No.
This is the hierarchy of greeting.
Oh, it's a protocol that's so rigid it's practically a workout.
Yeah.
And, the Lady Dowager, she actually tries to waive the formalities. She says something like, it's been a hard year for you all, let's skip the bowing.
But does she really mean it? Or is that one of those things where your boss says, oh, you don't have to get me a birthday gift, but you know you absolutely have to get a gift?
It's benevolent matriarch theater.
Yeah.
100%. If they actually listened and didn't bow, she might be offended. But they all know the game. They insist. And the order. The order is fascinating. It physically maps out the power structure.
Right. So the men bow first as a group, then the women, then all the servants and staff have to bow according to their rank.
It's a pyramid scheme of respect.
And right after this whole performance of submission, there's a transaction.
Immediately. This is the pressier money. Purses, gold, silver ingots, they're handed out right after everyone bows.
It just highlights how transactional these relationships are. You give me submission, I give you gold. It's a patronage system, not a family reunion.
Precisely. But here gets really interesting. Because while all this loud, performative bowing and money giving is happening in the foreground, there's something sitting quietly in the background that is, you could argue, worth more than all the cash in the room combined.
You're talking about the screen, the one behind the Lady Dowager.
Yes, the Hui embroidery, or Hui Wen. The text spends a surprising amount of time just describing this one piece of decor.
Why, though? I mean, to the average person, it's just a fancy room divider.
Because it represents a completely different kind of value. See, this embroidery wasn't made by some professional in a workshop. It was created by a young girl named Hui Niang from a scholar's family.
The prodigy who died young, right?
That's her. She was brilliant at painting, at calligraphy, but she died at 18. And what she left behind were these incredible panels where she used black velvet to stitch cursive script.
Stitching calligraphy sounds weirdly counterintuitive. Calligraphy is all about flow and speed, right? The brush moving. Embroidery is so slow.
And that's the genius of it. The text says she captured the hooks and kicks of the brushstrokes. She somehow made thread look like wet ink, capturing the actual momentum of the writing. It's a technical miracle.
And there's that amazing linguistic detail in the source about what they called this art form.
Oh, this is such a great insight into the class structure of the time. So originally people called it hui embroidery, or hiju. Now in Chinese, the word xiu implies needlework, a craft.
Like women's work.
Women's work, exactly. It's commercial, it's blue collar in a sense. But the scholars, the literati, they saw this and felt that embroidery was basically an insult to her art.
It was too common a word.
Way too common. So they actually came to a consensus to change the name. They replaced embroidery jus with wen.
And wen is a much heavier word.
Oh, wen is a heavy hitter. It means pattern, but also culture, literature, civilization. It's a high-status word. By calling it hui wen, they were elevating it from a craft to a masterpiece of high art.
They were saying, this belongs in a museum, not a marketplace.
Yes. And because she died so young, the supply is permanently capped. You can't just order more.
Right, and the Jia family has 16 panels of this stuff.
The text is very clear that most rich families don't have a single scrap. So think about that contrast. In the foreground, they're literally throwing gold around. But gold is renewable. You can always get more. In the background is this silent, black velvet screen that is utterly irreplaceable.
It signals that the family has both kinds of power, the raw cash and the refined cultural capital.
Exactly. They have the money and the taste, although, as we're about to see, the money side of things tends to get a little louder.
Before we get to the loud part, I want to geek out on the lighting in the flower hall. I mean, obviously, no electricity. But they weren't just using regular candles.
No, the engineering here is surprisingly clever. They used enamel lotus leaves as light diffusers.
How would that even work?
So imagine these metal leaves shaped like lotuses but turned outward. They'd put the candles behind them. The shape of the leaf would shield the guest's eyes from the direct glare of the flame.
Oh, so it's like indirect lighting. You don't get that flickering in your eyes.
Right. But the leaves also acted as reflectors, focusing the light really intensely onto the opera stage. So you get this spotlight effect while the audience is in a much softer ambient glow.
Wow. And in this perfectly lit room, we have to talk about the seating chart. Because at any big event, the seating is political. Here, it seems to define your whole world.
It does. It's a map of the inner circle. And at the absolute center, you have the Lady Dowager. She's not even sitting up straight. She's reclining on a couch with a maid literally pounding her legs for her.
She is the sun, and everyone else is a planet orbiting her.
And this is where the favoritism is just so blatant. Who's in the closest orbit? Right next to her couch, visually grouped with her, are the favorites. Baoyu, the male heir, and the girls. Dayu, Baoqin, and Xiangyun.
Wait, so the grandkids are at the head table?
Only the favorite grandkids.
Yeah.
They aren't at some kid's table in the corner. They are elevated above most of the adults.
And where are the actual adult men? The ones who supposedly run this whole clan?
Relegated to the veranda. Essentially, yes. Jia Zhen, Jia Lin, they are physically pushed to the margins. In this domestic space, on this night, the matriarch and her female relatives control the center. The patriarchy is, for a moment, flipped on its head.
That's such a crucial point. We just assume these historical settings are dominated by men in every single room, but the inner quarters can have their own rules.
Absolutely. But speaking of people on the periphery, we have to talk about the people who aren't even on the veranda. The absentees.
This was the part of the text that really felt like you could see the cracks in the foundation. Who's missing and why?
Well, there are two kinds of absences. First, you've got the voluntary dropout. Jijing. He's the family ascetic. He's fasting, meditating. He wants nothing to do with it.
He's basically saying he's above all this worldly stuff.
Right. But then you have Jia Shi, the eldest son, and his behavior is much more telling. He shows up, but the dynamic is just painfully awkward.
There's that line where the Lady Dowager says, he and I cramp each other's style.
It's such a human moment. She knows he can't relax around her, and she can't fully relax around him. So he does his duty, and then he leaves. But look where he goes. He goes home to party with his own concubines, where he can have music filling the ears without his mom watching.
Sure. He wants to be the king in his own castle, not the prince in his mother's.
Exactly. It shows that fracture. But the most damning absences are from the wider clan. The source says many of them didn't come at all. And the reason it gives is just brutal.
Jealous of the rich and ashamed of their poverty.
That's the direct quote. Can you imagine? The Jia clan is not one big happy family. It's deeply stratified. You have the super rich branch living in this insane luxury, and then you have poor relatives who are just trying to get by.
So for them, coming to the party isn't a celebration?
It's humiliation. It forces them to confront the wealth gap within their own bloodline. The text also says some just hate Wang Shifeng, the household manager. So despite all the lanterns and the incense symbolizing harmony, the clan is actually just riddled with resentment and class division.
It's a projection of unity that completely falls apart if you just check the guest list.
And that brings us to the climax of the night, the entertainment. They're watching an opera, The West Building.
And then something happens that's not in the script. A breaking the fourth wall moment.
Yes. The focus is on the actor playing the clown, a guy named Wen Bao. In the play, the hero has just stormed off. But the actor, he breaks character. He looks right at the Lady Dowager and improvises a joke.
What does he say?
He says something like, the hero has gone off in a huff, but today is the Lantern Festival. So I'm going to ride this horse into the wrong mansion to beg for some snacks.
That feels incredibly risky. He's inserting himself directly into their reality.
It is, but he read the room perfectly. The Lady Dowager loves it. She laughs and says, the hero is gone, but the clown is here for snacks. And she orders a reward.
Now, normally a reward would be, handed over discreetly. But this is the wrong mansion.
The servants were ready. They had baskets, literal baskets of copper coins waiting for this, and they don't hand them to the actor. They scatter them all over the stage.
And the text describes the sounds so vividly.
Clatter, clatter. It's the sound of metal just raining down on a wooden stage. It is the sound of pure, chaotic excess.